And inside the inbox is what I call the 1-2 email punch, which is a simple little trick that allows you to get as high as 80% open rate and get a massive influx of sales as well as a lot of email engagement on your list, which just in case you happen to be hitting the promo tab is my number one trick to get out of the promo tab and back into the primary. So most people know this kind of email known as a trigger email, which depending on the kind of um, email software you use, ESP, whatever you want to call it, email client, they may be called a different kind of sequence, but effectively all it means is you're going to send an email to your list, which is going to get them to take an action, which then when they take that action has a follow-up email that follows it to get them to then open it and then either get sales or take another action that you have. So I can share several different ways that I like to do that. But Brad, I know you're more in the ecom world. Do you use anything similar to this, or is this more of like an info product slash coaching kind of thing?
Can you explain it one more time, and then let me see if I can think if there is one like an e-coms
Okay.
or ecom analog.
Okay, so here's the way I like to think about it is or the way I do it, but also with the thinking, the process behind it is to get somebody to take an action on something that's reasonably expensive. For example, let's say you're trying to get somebody to buy $100 product and it's not something you advertise regularly, it's not one of your regular products. Usually the way most people do it is they'll have like an actual launch sequence and send a lot of emails to try to get people to buy, right? Because basically, the more touch points you have, the more angles you hit, the more chance you have to elicit or not elicit, but channel that desire these people already have to get them to take that action. Now, if there's a way you can compress that time like this into like a single day or a single hour, then that would just make all your metrics look better. You make more money and you'd be helping more people too, right? Because not everybody opens every email on your email list. So the way I do it specifically is I send a what I call a entry-based email, which is simply put, if you've ever been on any kind of financial publishing kind of email list. They're also called lift notes, really short email. Usually they're about 100, 150 words long. Basically, all you're doing is teasing what's on the other side. And usually, what I'm sending people to is either a blog post or a video. I prefer sending people to videos, specifically on YouTube. I don't have a lot of videos myself, but for example, a client that I've written for in the past, they publish a lot of content on YouTube. So what I would do is send an email to the list initially, teasing something that they're going to learn on some kind of benefit that they get. Like, for example, the simple trick that doubled my income in a single month, right? If you're in some kind of a make money online niche or copywriting, marketing, whatever, or anything that deals with money, or the simple trick that let me melt 13 pounds of body fat in a single week, like something to that effect, right? Something that is uh, like those subject lines are prime examples of the number one email subject line formula I like to use, which is intrigue and benefit, right? So some kind of curiosity loop, which is the simple little trick that allowed me to benefit statement, right? Very simple. And then what you're going to do within the email is you're going to tease about how you did that. And then the way they're going to find out about it is just click the link and then they get to the other side. That video is going to explain how you did it, right? And most content that performs very well is what's called soft selling. So it's going to be something that is soft teaching or soft selling in a way that's telling people basically 80% of the tip or 90% of the tip that people need to know. That way, if they want to try to get results, they can, but they'll get better results if they buy one of your products, which is going to be in the follow up email. So when people click through to the video, you're going to set up on your autoresponder, ESP, email client, whatever you want to call it, to have a tag applied to that clickable link so that when people click on it, it triggers the next sequence, which is usually just a single email. Now, in that subject line, I usually use something simple like because you clicked on last email, check this out right now, right? And then basically what it's going to do is it's going to then finish selling what you're trying to get people to take action on, for example, whatever product it is. But what did the majority of the selling is that video, right? So basically what you've done is you've compressed the sales sequence that would normally take 5 to 7 days on like a launch sequence, but you could do it 3 minutes, right? Because even if it's a 3 minute long video, that's still like 500 words. People will sit there and watch a 3 minute video, not even realize it, but they will just flick through a 500 word email and skim it, right? So this is a very quick way uh, to get people to take action, make lots of sales. And usually that second email that you send, the open rates on it are astronomical. They're usually somewhere between the 60 to 80%. I've never achieved a 100% open rate. I don't think that's possible. Um, but yeah, that's usually the way I do it. Have you used anything similar to that?
So it sounds kind of like a intent sequence a little bit,
Yeah,
if I'm
yeah,
doing this right. So, but the purpose of it is you're trying to get someone to like you're doing like a it's like an intent sequence, but for a piece of content, kind of. But the piece
yeah.
of content, it sounds like you design it around like selling, not like hard selling, like saying, "Hey, buy this," but
You're selling the idea
yeah,
in the
uh,
content, right?
yeah,
So
moving
so you're
people up.
teasing the idea, you're selling the idea, and then the follow-up email is then selling them to get to the sales page. So they're already pre-sold, and you've already like wedded that desire that they already have that they may not even know that they had. And then they're now on the sales page already pre-sold on buying what it is that you want to sell, right? Plus the engagement metrics that you're going to have are going to be crazy because the open rates are going to be high, the click through is going to be high. Like obviously, the open rates and the click rates are going to be naturally higher because it's only going to be sent to the subset of or segment, if you want to call it, of people that clicked through on the initial email. So you're going to be sending less emails, but because you have such high engagement, that's looked at well to all the ISPs like Google, uh, MSN, all that. So then they'll treat your emails as a higher priority for those people that clicked through the next day, right? So if you've been in the promo tab, now those people are going to now see you in the primary tab the next day, usually.
Okay, I'm trying to think of like what. I guess I'm thinking of ecom for because with ecom, if you want, so you if you're doing ecom but you're publishing content. Hmm.
Okay, so let's say
I'm trying to think of a like a like a real world use case that ecom could borrow this concept.
supplements. For example, supplements. Let's say most supplements that are in whatever niche or health, right, are normally missing this one ingredient, or there's something that people aren't really doing that
Okay.
makes it work better. You could send these people from the initial email to a piece of content, whether it's blog post, article, or
Oh,
video that
yeah.
brings that. So now you've sold them on the idea of how they can get better results with said supplement, or because of something that's in your existing supplements, and then that follow up email that's then sent to those people that clicked through. Now get that one email, and they're already pre-sold on that idea. And then you do a little bit more of an intrigue base to get people to then direct to whatever sales page or whatever your action you want them to take. And then they click through to that, they're more likely to take that action. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
yeah. I was having a bit of a mental block over like you'd have to set up almost like a mini automation every time you did one of those pieces of content, but that probably doesn't. That's like you can just reuse the. Actually, yeah, you can just have like a like I'm thinking of it like logistically, like when you're setting the flow up. I guess you can just have like
Yeah,
the same flow, but then just every time you just like what triggers that flow, like when someone opens or
yeah.
clicks
Quick
on
trigger. Yeah,
XYZ email, you would just go back into the flows definition and change which email, from a technical perspective, change which
yeah.
email counts as like the trigger. And then, yeah, every time you could just, 'cause it does make sense because when you're making if you're making those videos as for ecom, if you're making those videos, your product's going to be used in some way or featured or something like that in some way. Like I worked with a golf brand that made, some golf brands they only sell courses, or maybe they're courses and affiliates for physical products
Yeah.
like clubs or training devices or whatever. And then of course there's some golf, businesses that only like they just sell golf gear. Like they're not like selling um like education, like lessons or anything like that. So they made, I think, a weekly video or maybe two videos a week or something, where the uh, the guru, the golf expert coach guy who runs the company or co-runs the company would
film himself, like using, like showing how to do a drill or showing how to do something and using a training aid or, some other training device that they have and showing how to basically, it's not just like showing how to use the product. It's like showing how to do a drill that helps them get better at a certain part of the swing or certain, get better at putting or I don't know, whatever it is. And so actually, yeah, that, and then you could just have like a few different like float, like depending on the product, 'cause they have a bunch of products, depending on the product, you can just be like, okay, go back to that product's flow. When someone opens or clicks on this email's link to click through, that flow triggers. You can just basically have a bunch of those like little intent sequences
Yes.
every
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
I like that. I like that idea because you're kind of you're because the point of brands providing content, like part of it is to keep their current audience engaged. Part of it is the long term like SEO, get people to find me kind of play. But it's always like you always want to be sending your list to your content like that anyways, even though it doesn't like immediately like make you money to send them to your blog post. You still want to be doing that because I mean it's part of building the
Yeah.
relationship with your audience. And yeah, it does allow you to kind of do that. Like it's not even like long, like it's not like longer term. It's not as direct responsey as like saying, hey, buy now, but it's almost like you're doing the whole, education and then selling. You're doing it all like condensed
Yeah,
down
exactly.
actually. So
Compressing it. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, that's that could work for yeah. And then that golf brand, I guess if there's like a supplement brand that is publishing stuff about health and nutrition and all that stuff, they can just set up these like intent flows kind of every time someone clicks through to the content. And the content you would just have to make sure that you set up like the correct one. Like if you have one for product A,
Yeah.
product B, you could just have like a few different ones, and then those could tie back to like your top, like you were saying, like you might have like the one ingredient that these other ones are missing, and that might be relevant to your product A. And so you could have the same flow going to anyone who opens any of the product A emails. So spitballing a little bit here, what that would look like
Yeah.
for e-commerce.
And there's another way I use this email, and it's not necessarily for selling, but it's for pre-selling. Is what I used to do is anytime I'm trying to come up with like a new offer, product, whatever, I always send what I call is an ask email, which is a simple Dean Jackson style 9-word email, which is like, hey, if I created blank, would you be into it? Or um, if you're struggling with this, do you find this would help? Like something along that to get like engagement, to get people to like reply and stuff like that. But I found in recent years, people to reply less than they used to. I think a lot of people are privy to to that game now. They're like, oh yeah, he's just like gonna just ask me, and then I'm gonna say I am in. And also, um, there's a lot of pre-indoctrination that you could do if you could get people to reply. It depends on the engagement of your list. If your list is highly engaged, you could get people to. You could simply say, hey, would you be into this? If so, say yes, I'd buy it. Right? Like that's what's I think in NLP is called a presupposition. So like when people are saying yes, I'll buy it or yes, I'm in, they're already pre-selling themselves on the idea of getting the product before you buy it. However, I do find yes, I have
He
kids.
just rose very, very slowly, like
Yeah, no,
movie monster about to
yeah,
attack.
yeah. He's small enough to look like a hoblet, and he acts like one too. That's actually funny. Sorry, guys. Anyways, pleasures of being a single dad. Hey, buddy, you want to get out too? Or- Yeah, I got two in here with me because we're trying to get dinner ready, so they're both gonna leave now. So just get out, jerks. Sorry, guys. Okay, um, so you're pre-selling them on the idea, like it's the law of consistency at work, but also it's using their own words to get them to act too, because they're like saying that they're going to take action on it, right? So they're more likely to. However, I do find in recent years, at least the last 2 years, getting people to reply to the emails, like you're always going to have your high engagers that always reply to your emails. But like when you send an ask email, I found like 5 years ago, you just get like an influx of people replying. Now I find it's a little bit more difficult. So what I found instead of doing that now is I just provide a link. Hey, I'm thinking of building such and such project. It's going to do this. If you're into that, click this link and you'll be added to a waiting list for it, and then give them a reason to act to, right? Like always give a reason why. I'd be like, if you join the waiting list, I'll even offer you a special discount when it's ready. Just click on this link here, I'll add you, right? Something that simple, right? And then what I do is if people click on it, I have a trigger sequence like I just mentioned again, but it's a little bit different because instead of me sending them to a blog post, I'm going to send them to usually just the Google Doc that I created of like, hey, you've been added to the waiting list. And then it's usually some kind of like GIF of like Chandler from Friends dancing, or Donald Duck if it's like something about making money where he's counting money and like walking around, like something to make people laugh, right? And that's like, hey, you've been added, this and that and the other, whatever. But there's going to be a triggered follow-up email because now that tag is going to add them to the waiting list. But that waiting list now triggers a new sequence, which is usually just a single email saying, hey, thanks for joining the waiting list. And then I ask them a series of questions like, hey, what's your biggest questions about said topic, or what's your burning issue with said problem, or whatever it is, what kind of information you want to get from your people. So what you're doing in that sense is you're getting people to commit to the waiting list, you're giving them a reason to join, but also you're getting them to engage with your emails, which obviously helps with email deliverability. But more importantly, you're getting the language they're using to describe their problems, their dreams, their desires, and all that too, which helps write their sales copy later. So that's how I use that trigger email in two different ways: is either to make sales, to send them to a piece of content in some sort, to then pre-sell them on the idea of what the next email is going to follow up. That basically precedes that to a sales page or whatever your sales sequence is. But the idea is to compress that sales process down to a minimal amount of time, or to create a waiting list and then get people to pre-sell themselves on the idea of buying said product and also providing you with the information even before you create it.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's kind of like email marketing ninja shit. I spent probably, I think it was like $1,500 5 years ago to learn all this shit. Obviously, this is the strategy behind it. You still need the implementation and know how to actually set it up and then write the copy that actually makes it work too. But this actual strategy is stuff that a lot of high end email marketers use to literally make hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, and this is how they do it. Okay, so
Yeah. I just had an idea for you could take this same approach probably, and I mean you're kind of doing this, but you could do like a pre-launch and then launch. Like you could have a pre-launch launch,
yeah,
both of them. That
yeah,
during the pre-launch you do something like this too. Like I mean you were kind of saying it, but you can have like maybe I think I worked with a brand before where like they published a bunch of maybe pieces of content like that were like covering different things and kind of hinting at the new product coming up or something like that, and then like the product eventually was launched and you could buy it and everything. But I think it was like you could do something like that where like you're publishing the content, and if someone like opens the clicks through, opens the content, they get an email that either puts them on a wait list, or maybe they get an email that lets them pre-order it right then and there or something. Or you could do both. You could have like if they click through one or even two, they get asked, hey, do you want to get on the wait list? If they do it a third time, maybe you give them maybe if you have like multiple
yeah,
pre-launch
yeah,
and if someone opens like a bunch of them and they're really really committed, that like super secret small slice of people, you just send them a pre-order link. Like even though if it's like the launch doesn't happen until like if the launch doesn't happen until Thursday or something, maybe and if someone clicks Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, maybe Wednesday evening you send them like, hey, psst, like you get this early because you're clearly super interested and we don't want to make you wait any longer because you're viewing all the content and it's clearly something you want. So I don't know. I just
yeah.
ideas just
That's
pop into my head. Like do
yeah.
some.
It's the 80-20 principle at work, right? Because like um only 20% of your email list makes 80% of your income, right? From like your email list, and then 4% makes, I think it's 64%, and then it's like that 0.8%, which is your top 1%, they're the ones that make you like close to 50% of the income from your list. Those 1% people are the people that are going to click every link. They're the ones that are going to reply to your emails. This is a good way to extract those people and even like see, right? Because like what I used to do for my email list was I would go at the end of every month and look at who's clicked the most, who's collected the most tags, right? Because I would always come up with like a strategy for the month and be like, hey, here's the topics I'm going to be talking about. Here's what I'm going to sell. And then I would always do these pre-sale sequences or even trigger-based emails and see was um who clicked the most links and collected the most tags at the end of every month. And those people always were the people who spent the most money with me too. So those are people that, if you see this kind of behavior, these are people that you could probably reach out to directly through like just your normal Google Workspace or whatever um, main client you use just to send your like business emails from, not just your ESP emails. And then we reach out to those people directly, and then like actually hop on calls with them and stuff like that. Because that's what I did in the past. Was, hey, like this person's spent a couple $100 with me in like the first week of joining my email list, and they've clicked on practically every link, and they've replied to 3 emails in the last 21. I'm going to reach out to them directly and just hop on a call, see what they're up to, see what they're doing, right? This is something else that a lot of people just don't do. And that's also going to also better the relationship you're going to create with your list too, because like you're taking care of your best people, and they're going to give you the information you really need, right? Because they're the people who actually spend money.
Yeah.
So yeah, I not sure if we hammered that topic enough, but it's a simple sequence, but it's powerful, and not a lot of people use it. And when I talk to people about using it, they're like, "Oh shit," like that. And it is easy. Like I would have one sequence already pre-created, and one tag. And what I would do at the end of every month is I would only use this kind of tactic, strategy, whatever you want to call it, maybe once a month. I wouldn't do it too often because people do become kind of blind to it after a while, right? They click it, you're gonna have to come up with different variations of subject points and stuff like that. Obviously, come up with different material and stuff like that too. But what I would do at the end of every month is anybody who had that tag, I would delete it, because if you forget to delete that tag, then if they click through the next time, it's not going to send that sequence again because that tag's already been applied to them, and it's only going to fire once, not second time, depending on the way your ESP set up. And then I just reset up redo the copy in the email, and then everything's already pre-made for me. At the beginning of every month, I just write the copy, submit it in, publish it, whatever you want to call it, and then delete the tags on anybody who already has the tags from the previous month, and then send an email, a different email the following month using the same tag, and it's already preset, pre-made, right? Yeah, man.
Sweet. And this one is definitely more of your wheelhouse, this kind of a sequence, but you can see there's
Yeah, I like
application on both sides,
I
info / digital and ecom, physical ecom.
yeah, my autistic ADHD brain works like this. I'm just like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
what kind of things can I purposely mess up and actually figure something out, right? So, yeah, the tactical crazy shit is kind of what I get into, and then copy too, right? I don't know, I don't know. I never really got into the ecom stuff. I always found the info publishing stuff a little bit more interesting, but it does seem like ecom is the way to go right now. Obviously with AI and stuff like that. Um, I wouldn't say information is useless anymore because AI can only ever create content based on what's already been done, not what's to be done.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just post whatever they like from using it without reading it anyway. So it's not like that information could be all that valuable because it's off the some of the internet, not the best of the internet. Right? Like what's I forget who said it, but they're like AI takes the average of the internet and spits out information based off that information. And have you met what the average person says from the internet? It's like
Yeah.
the intelligence is not that high, right?
I remember
So
seeing a
yeah,
while ago, like ChatGPT got like a ton of its input from Reddit. Like,
exactly.
I mean, like, without making this into an episode about AI, the thing with those AI tools is, I don't know if I just like get it intuitively or what, but like there's so much like debate and fighting over like how to use them properly. And for me, I just like know how to like, I can't, it's hard for me to explain, but it's like, I know when it's potentially BSing or hallucinating. I know what it
Yeah.
can't BS or hallucinate on. There are certain things where it'd be a category error. Like it would be incoherent to say that it's BSing on. There's certain things it's incoherent to say it's like hallucinating on things, but like it can hallucinate like like a historical date. It can like give you their own historical date. It's sometimes randomly it's given me a Russian word just in the middle while it's trying to tell me something. One word was just in Cyrillic characters and in Russian. I was like, I don't like, sometimes they'll do stuff like that, or I'll notice sometimes I get math wrong, but there's certain things where it's like you just like it's not something you can get wrong, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
But
My
if you rely on it like blindly without like again, if you don't use your brain to think through,
yeah,
is
that's
this
the
something
thing.
that it can hallucinate about, and that kind of thing? Well, then you're just relying on basically a machine to search. You're basically relying on a machine to give you what Reddit believes about a topic or says a topic is or whatever. So you do have to
Yeah,
be somewhat careful. But it's kind of like I don't know. You just kind of like what to trust when you see it. At least for me, like I know where
but that
Claude
that
stuff
comes from
is.
experience, though, right? Like knowing what's bullshit comes from experience and actually doing what you're getting it to do. And I think that is the issue: is people are trying to automate things they've never done. So you're
Yeah,
not going to know, right? Like, I don't know, like I was a mechanic for 23 years, right? Working on cars and stuff like that. And uh, I'll have people reach out to me being like, hey, having an issue with my car. I checked ChatGPT and it said, I probably need this. I'm like, yeah, sounds about right. And they're like, really? I'm like, no. And they're like, oh, well, what is it? I was like, I'm not prostituting that knowledge for free. I'm like, no, not at all. I was like, I spent over $100,000 on tools to be able to fix cars and uh, worked on them to gather that information for over 23 years. And you're gonna you're gonna just call me because we used to be friends in high school? No, you're gonna pay. But um, yeah, that all that being said, um, when it comes to AI, yeah, definitely got to be careful. My father, he's a mechanical engineer, licensed, certified, whatever they are to get to that point. And he used it to write some articles for LinkedIn that he was publishing, and he said about 80% of it was trash. He said the structure of it was good, but a lot of it he had to rewrite because it was either blatantly wrong or misleading. So I was like, if you took the time to write it yourself, would it have been faster? And he's like, I think so. I was like, yeah, and that's the problem a lot of people don't realize, right? And they don't realize it because they're like, oh yeah, it helped me write it because it wrote it better than I probably would have to if I did it myself. And the reality of it, the way I look at it, is unless you're a professional writer, if you weren't going to write it that good anyways, what was the point of posting it? But that's another topic.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
in that case, I think we've covered the sequence
yeah.
pretty in depth. So,
I think so.
um,
We've been doing a lot more tactical things on email. Maybe we'll get a little bit more into like copy stuff, storytelling, shit like that again.
yeah,
Or even I've been seeing some interesting things in the inbox lately, so perhaps talk about that. Um, Especially
true.
AI summaries. I find the AI summaries are kind of funny because you'll like look at them and then read the email. It's nowhere fucking close to what it actually is about.
Yeah.
So,
Well, if we're all good to go, say we call it there.
all right, man. Okay, sounds good. All right, thanks to everybody who joined and anybody who's gonna watch later. Take care.
Thanks, Seal.